I have 5 questions after seeing AJ Lee's return on Monday Night Raw. Hello, everybody. My name is Sancho West, and welcome to Sancho West Wrestling. We talk about all things wrestling. If you love wrestling as much as I do, consider subscribing to the channel. Now, before I ask these questions, I ask these 5 questions to start a conversation, to set a foundation for future discussions about AJ Lee so that we can make future videos on. Question number 1. Can she still promo? Obviously, after we saw Monday Night Raw, she can still promo, and it's a very different promo cadence than your typical, I'm a pro wrestler cadence, and I enjoyed it. And I love that she took a moment at a time to speak to us directly, the fan that's been waiting for her to return for 10 years. It felt like Bray Wyatt when Bray Wyatt returned after the long hiatus from the Fiend era, and he came back as himself, Bray Wyatt. And I absolutely love that moment, that vulnerability. And I love that AJ Lee took time to talk about mental health and talk about therapy. And I love the WWE in Milwaukee was talking about, they did give a nice little therapy chant, and that was fun. And one of my favorite lines from her promo is, I'm your wrestler's favorite wrestler. Very nice. And I like, at the same time, the quips, the asides, the quick, witty banter that AJ Lee does provide. And you saw that with Becky Lynch as well. Shout out to Becky Lynch for selling really well against AJ Lee, giving her the props, like the prestige, the respect that a character like AJ Lee deserves. And also what I do enjoy about AJ Lee is that she's very immersive. She gets you into this world, or whatever program or whatever thing she's trying to sell you. It feels real, if that makes sense. It feels like it's coming from a place of organic reaction versus something scripted, things of that sort. So AJ Lee, even though she's a 2012 character, still works today. And I have another question coming up further about a 2012 character in 2025. Number 2, will AJ Lee evolve? Now, thinking about AJ Lee's 2012 character, right? She was the anti-diva. She stood out because her moveset was so different. But now that moveset is now the standard. The way she cuts promos is almost the standard of today's modern wrestling. 2012, it stood out because it was so different. You had the WWE divas, and AJ Lee wasn't. Because of that, all the current wrestlers that we have these days, the Roxys, the Rhea Ripleys, all those type of characters looked up to AJ Lee, and now she's here. How is she going to stand out? How is she going to evolve? I think the immersion and the details of her ring psychology will give her those vibes that will separate her from the rest of the roster. Already, if you looked at question 1's promo, she definitely does stand out, and already in her physical appearance, she does stand out. The question will be, will it stand out in their moveset? I look at the Sol Rukas of the world, the Ember Moons of the world, all that moveset stands out these days, and it kind of attracts the modern fan. AJ Lee does have some great moves like the Black Widow, the sliced bread. Her head scissor move is very nice, but I'm wondering if we're going to get a more modern day version of AJ Lee, and will she add a little bit more than the Luthez press and things of that sort. Now, sometimes when you see a couple's power wrestlers come together, like a CM Punk, like AJ Lee, sometimes they steal moves. Think of the time, don't groan, Nikki Bella and John Cena. They kind of all of a sudden started to mix that. So will we get a blending of CM Punk and AJ Lee? Time will tell. Number 3, is she going to be on Raw or on SmackDown? The simple answer is this: I believe she goes wherever CM Punk goes. In the past WWE, the relationship couples tend to stick together. They stay on the same brand. But I honestly, in my opinion, she really needs to go to SmackDown. SmackDown needs the most help. Literally everybody that was a superstar, that was a main eventer on SmackDown, the AJ Styles, the LA Knights, everybody, the CM, all of them went to Monday Night Raw, and SmackDown is left with mid-carders, which is not a big deal, but all the main eventers are not there all the time. And imagine if AJ Lee was, and at least AJ Lee and Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax, Candice LeRae, they could have some good kind of vibes going together if they had a big star like AJ Lee. If you look on Monday Night Raw, it is stacked with talent already. In the upper division, you got Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Asuka, to name a few. And when Naomi comes back, and if Stephanie Vaquer finally reaches where she's going, and even if whoever comes out of all that scrum, all that could definitely does not need any kind of help. But SmackDown, please. Like, SmackDown needs as much help as possible. And considering that, you know, it is their network television show in terms of cable television, you know, on USA, I think AJ Lee would be a great character to push forward. Would that mean that they will separate in terms of CM Punk and AJ Lee on different brands, or does CM Punk move to SmackDown? Time will tell, but definitely she's going to be on Monday Night Raw. Number 4, is the WWE going to put gold on AJ Lee now or later? Already, she walked out on their Monday Night Raw debut after 10 years wearing the Intercontinental Gold. Clearly, the program, the feud going forward is Becky Lynch. They're going to have their match at WrestlePalooza, their mixed tag match with CM Punk, AJ Lee, Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch, and they're going to probably veer off into their own program. I don't want the WWE to put both titles on the line. I feel like it's a waste of a good moment in one, two birds with one stone type of vibe doesn't work here. Why use it all in one go unless you want to put that moment on ESPN, have one couple and the other couple hold up the belts? Sure, but that just leaves us kind of wasted for future PLEs like Survivor Series, like Crown Jewel. So Becky's IC title is going to be the one that's going to be up for grab, but I still don't think she should win Becky Lynch's IC gold title. I feel like that moment is definitely a WrestleMania type of moment. Now, WrestleMania is in April. That's a ways away. I don't know if we could stretch it out that long. But I do believe we don't want another Motor City situation. For those of you who don't know, Motor City has been a very revered tag team all around the world. And when the WWE signed Motor City, it felt like they put the belt on them too soon to kind of validate who they are, to make the WWE Universe understand like, hey, these guys are really, really good. And it would make sense for them to win gold literally their first onset, it felt like. So I don't want that to happen to AJ Lee, because you look at Motor City, after they lost the belts, they've kind of been directionalists. Now, I know AJ Lee's a bigger draw than Motor City, and I know AJ Lee is more of a main eventer than Motor City, but the point I'm trying to make is you cannot give them the keys of the kingdom right away, because it doesn't give us anything to, sympathize with, doesn't give us anything to root for if they all of a sudden they just come on the scene and they're OP. I think you could really tell a great story about a 2012 wrestler trying to make a comeback and trying to fit into modern times, like I mentioned in the previous 2 questions. Is this 2012 diva, I have to say, the Divas era pro wrestler, can it survive in a modern day? And I think that's a very fascinating question. And at the same time, wouldn't it be fun to explore this question of this kind of vulnerability, like maybe I made a mistake? Like, that is something that's quite interesting. That if you're going to sign a multi-year deal in the WWE and you don't win, you could self-doubt. I think that'd be a cool thing, and considering that mental health is seemingly something that's very important to AJ Lee and maybe AJ Lee's character, then maybe we could explore something like that. And I think that's going to be very, very cool. They do that, so I don't think they should put gold on it right away. I think you can even do something very more clever about this thing, when you could say, hey, Naomi's title's vacated. Why don't we just let Stephanie Vaquero win the title? She goes in a feud with Roxy and Raquel, and then eventually faces AJ Lee. And then you have Roxy, who wants to help, and like, she's their mother, quote unquote, and she wants to help AJ Lee. And I think that'd be a very cool thing to do, to have Roxy and AJ Lee in a little program. Roxy trying to help, and AJ Lee saying, I don't want this, and kind of like a, I don't know, like a hand the rocks to cradle type of vibe, Roxy situation, which would fit very well, because I know they're trying to do that with Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio, but it's Roxy's truest like inspirational, and the whole thing is AJ Lee. So I think that'd be very cool kind of storyline to explore. And the final question, number 5, will AJ Lee turn heel? Now, this is an interesting dilemma, all right? Because AJ Lee right now is super over as a face. The pop was insane in Chicago. The pop was insane in Milwaukee. And AJ Lee, the numbers on social media is quite wild. By far, my biggest IG story ever, reel, whatever you want to call it, 5 million views almost. Insane. And that's just for little old me. AJ Lee, though, is super comfortable as a heel. We cannot deny that. If you look at our 2012 runs, great as a heel, great as the anti-hero as well, yes, but heel work is in her wheelhouse to a T, especially granted how the Vince McMahon era booked her as a valet and manager for a lot of the men out there. So she was always interfering and always causing chaos. And who can forget when she went in to cause chaos against John Cena? So there's so many moments in the WWE past that would say AJ Lee is a heel. Now, I would say in the current landscape of the WWE, we definitely need strong heels. Naomi is gone. And if this Bayley split personality thing, I feel like that play is like a home run Hail Mary type of play. That is a long shot play to pull that off. Not many pro wrestlers could pull off the split personality well. It is very difficult. Mick Foley is the epitome of that, and you can think of many examples that do not work out with the split personality or any kind of mental issues type of vibe. It's a very slippery slope, and I'm rooting for Bayley to pull it off, but if it doesn't pull off, the WWE gamble doesn't work out, you could go to the old reliable AJ Lee to be that monster heel that the women's division desperately need. Rhea Ripley versus AJ would work so well, and of course you're never going to turn Rhea heel. It just doesn't work. The WWE can't do it, but a newcomer, and say that in the terms of the modern day fan, a newcomer like AJ Lee, you could buy into being a heel. But they really think about this. This is why it made total sense to make John Cena heel, right? I put that in this category. When John decided to retire and we were heading towards the final year, not that many people, or I guess nobody, thought that John Cena would turn heel. But when you really think about it, John Cena needed to turn heel because there wasn't that many big heels to work against the main roster unless you were going against the Bloodline or if you're going against Drew McIntyre, and that was basically it. Look at all the big faces that were around when John Cena turned heel. You had Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, CM Punk's big money matches. So the question is, will AJ Lee turn heel? I'm hoping so, but there's just too much money on the line for AJ Lee to be face, and I think that run will last probably about a year or so, and we will not see AJ Lee be a heel anytime soon. Those are my 5 questions. If you have some answers or some thoughts of your own questions down below, please comment and create this nice little discourse that I have here at Sancho S Wrestling. If you want more of these videos, be sure to subscribe and turn on those nutties. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video where we're going to be talking about Jey Uso's heel turn. Wild. See you around.